My name's Kenny Hetrick, and I own Tiger Ridge Exotics. And I got the tigers and the lions here in Stony Ridge, and these guys are here doing a story about what I do and how I do it. I was probably 23 years old, and I knew people that owned a zoo in Florida, and I bought an ocelot from them. You know, it was a baby. It was only like a month old, and I brought that back up here. And ocelots come from South America, but they're still a jungle cat. They get about 35 pounds, as big as they get, and I kept it right here in the house for 15 years. It wasn't any different than a house cat. It was gentle as could be, you know. That was my first one. My first cage was right in the backyard. I put that up, and that was 10-foot fence and all that. I had a baby bear in there, and I had a timber wolf and a mountain lion. You know, that was to start with. That's what I started with. They were all babies, and they were all tame. You know, anybody could go in there and pet them and play with them, whatever. But then after that, I found a place where I could buy a big area of fence, so that gave them lots of room. And it wasn't too long after that I applied for my USDA license, you know, and got it. First, I had them come out here and explain to me what they wanted me to do and this and that, and so I did what they asked of me, and applied for my license and got it. So, you know, and I've had it ever since. You know, a lot of times the women come here and they got 3 or 4 kids, and you can't afford to go to the Toledo Zoo because it costs you $12 to get in and $5 to park. So how often are you going to do that? Maybe once a year unless you got a membership, which a lot of people can't afford that membership. So they come here, and a lot of times these people will walk around and they don't put nothing in the donation box, but that's okay. If I was doing this to make big profits from it, I'd have it charged. You know, it cost you $10 to get in here, or $7. You wouldn't even be allowed to come in here unless you paid a certain amount. But I've never done that. I do good enough just like it is. Almost everybody puts money in the donation box, whether it's a quarter. I've had a quarter put in, and I went out there after all day. There's only a quarter in the donation box, and I went out there other times there'd be $500 in there. So that's the way I like it, you know. That way, if you want to come here and you don't have any money, you still got, you know, you can come out to Kenny's house and nobody's gonna get mean with you or ask you for money or nothing. So when you come here, you can feel comfortable. That's the way I want it to be. That's the way it's always been. Well, you know, to feed them with all the food that's required for them is horses. A lot of horses. Things happen to horses and we have thousands of horses in this area. They're everywhere in Michigan and all over. Texas, Florida, and Ohio on ownership of horses. We're third in the United States. People don't know that, but Ohio is number 3 in ownership of horses. Okay, here's what happens to a horse. They break their legs. They fracture their necks. They colic. That's when their stomach twists. They founder. That's when their feet crack, the hoofs. And all that makes them, on a horse you'd say the word sound. They're not sound anymore. So when they're not sound, they can't be ridden. You know, what good is a horse that can't be ridden? And plus other things happen. They die in their stalls. They get mean and can't be handleable and want to hurt somebody. Well, I get all them horses because they call me to come get them. And a lot of times I have to put them down, because if they call the vet to put them down, then that poisons everything with his needle. And then they have to go to the landfill, or you're going to have to bury him. So when they call me, I get rid of it right then and there, or they can bring it over here and leave it, and leave. And that's how I feed the cats, you know. I'm just lucky nobody else is around that would do that besides me, because it'd still be hard. But being I'm the only one of this anywhere within 100 miles or so that does this, I've had calls from Fort Wayne to come get a horse. And in Michigan, you know, I just went to Blissfield and got one, a big Belgium that had a fractured neck. And I had to go at 10 o'clock at night. The guy insisted I come right now. So I had to hook my trailer up and go all the way to Dundee, Michigan, practically to Dundee, to get a Belgium horse out of a field. So, but that's what I do. And so I tell people, if you can't go out and butcher a horse and cut them up and put them in buckets and have a place to put the food, forget about tigers, because you're never going to be able to afford it. Even one tiger. You know, how are you going to come up with a bucket of fresh red meat every day to feed him? You know, you can do that when he's a kitten, but when he gets 500 pounds, you're going to have a problem. And you're going to be calling me to come take your tiger. That's happened a lot. Even now, when something goes wrong, there's very few people I can call for information, because there's no information out there. I went out one time, my tiger had a big rip in her side. Big rip. I don't know how it happened. I couldn't find no sharp objects whatsoever out there of how this could happen. I still don't know. But something did it. I don't know if the other cat did it. I have no idea. So it's winter time. It's like it is right now. So I have to go out and I have to tranquilize the cat and clean the wound and sew it up. Okay, I got it looking real nice. And next morning, it was right back like it was. She licked all the stitches out. So now I got that same wound again. So nobody really wants nothing to do with me. Nobody wants to go in with them cats, tranquilized or not. They don't. It's like it's too dangerous. So I tranquilized the cat again. It wasn't really fully recovered from the first time. So I put her back to sleep. Now this time I sewed her up. And I had a big bottle of super glue. And I ran the super glue over the whole wound, paying particular attention to the knots. And that held. And it healed perfect. And you can't go out there now and see a scar. You won't be able to tell me what side that happened on, because you can't see it. And how you learn? All these books behind you, I read every one of them. I read more books than you guys have, because I know you haven't sat and read books every day for 30 years. I did. But I've read all them books. Some of them books I've read twice. And what them books will tell you, there's a lot of circus books up there. And a lot of the circus books are biographies of cat trainers, like right there, Guthrie Gable Williams. You know, he tells about things that happened and went wrong and what he did about it. And I've read all them books, and I learned a lot of things of what they did when the cat went down, and this and that, and what they did about it, you know. So a lot of times when I'm trying to find something, I'll pull out a book and I'll go to the page that I try to remember and refresh myself on what he did. You learn from somebody that did something. You don't learn from somebody that thinks they know. That's too risky to do that. Everybody knows about what Terry Thompson did down in Zanesville. You know, he left 49 animals loose, and he shot himself in the head, and the police come and killed all the loose animals. So with that, after that taking place, they finally had a reason to pass an exotic animal law. So what they did, whoever made this exotic animal law knew very little about animals to start with. And they come up with a set of rules that were literally impossible for most people to even think about complying with. Like a 7-pound monkey is required to have 1 acre of running space. nobody could do that. I mean, an acre, my tigers don't even have an acre. You know, I got 6 tigers out there. If I had to have an acre for each tiger, I'd have to put a fence around the whole village of Stony Ridge, and I probably still wouldn't have enough room as what they want. And they're talking about 6-gauge wire and $1 million of liability insurance and dig barriers and microchipping and neutering and all the things that people hate is what they put into law. You know, that's been signed by the governor, so it's a law. And once a law is in place, you either stop what you're doing or try to comply with what they're doing. So in recourse to this happening, all the animal owners in Ohio hired 2 attorneys to fight for this. And both court cases that we had, both appeals, they lost. And we've already given them $63,000. So now the third step would be the Supreme Court before a 12-judge panel. And the lawyers quit. They said, well, you guys aren't paying us enough money. So they're done. So now it's everybody on their own. So now there's been permits issued. I think there's been 60 permits issued in Ohio, but they're all for the people that's got like maybe 1 bobcat or 1 lynx or 1 monkey. But I'm the first person that's got the lion, tigers, and bears that they started with. There's lots of people like me, but they started with me. And even though I've had a USDA license for years and years and years, and I'm in compliance with everything that they require, but see, the ODA, that's Ohio Department of Agriculture, they know about the rules and regulations of the USDA. So they're not about to go along with anything that they would require. They want their own set of rules. And that's what's really, really made it hard on me and everybody else. But I finally come to the conclusion that if I want to keep my animals, I got to comply with what they want. Now, if I was a multi-millionaire, I'd fight them, but you can't afford to fight the government because they'll break you every time. Everybody knows that. So that's what I've done. I've tried to comply with what they want. You know, I did the neutering, the microchipping, the wire for the bear, the dig barrier, the $1 million of insurance. All that's taken care of. A lot of people are going to get really, really upset when somebody comes on your property with the intent of taking you could say your family away from you, you know. Now, they've been out here for 3 hours checking me when they come back. I have no idea what they decided that I have to do. But if it's going to be completely out of the ballpark, you could say, where it'd practically be impossible for me or anybody else to comply with, well, that's why I got an attorney. That's what the attorney's for. So see what all I can do, see what happens, see what's next. One good thing, lots of friends, because I got like 12 or 1,300 friends on Facebook, and they're all from around here. That's a good part. Before, I had 2,500 friends on my Facebook, but I deleted them because they were from New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, everywhere, France. And I used to get a lot of mail. I used to get on Facebook things I couldn't even read it because they were not even writing in English. So I can't think of any reason to have people like that on my Facebook, that they never put a like, they never poke you, they never write a comment, nothing. So why do you want them? There's no reason to have them on your Facebook. So I took all of them off. I was down to like 200 friends is all I had. Now I'm back up to 1,200. But they're all from around here. If you look at my Facebook, you see very few of them that are animal people like me. They're just people like you guys. But they're all on my Facebook. And if you want to know what I'm doing, just read that, because I usually write, every day I'll write something, you know. Like today I wrote, a guy brought in 25 bales of straw last night. And I needed that bad, so I'm going to go out there put fresh straw in all the boxes today. That's what I'm going to do. Danger. Dangerous wild animals on premises. Danger. They're not wild animals. What's a wild animal? Deer's a wild animal. Tigers and lions and stuff in Africa and India, they're wild animals. But when I could go in and sit down on the ground and have something sit on my lap and pet them and hand feed them and bring them in the house, I can leave that big tiger in the house right now and nothing's going to happen. He'll walk in here and look at you. He ain't going to do. I guarantee you, he ain't going to do nothing. Now, is that a wild animal? He's a tiger. You know, just that name, tiger, puts fear in you. But that's just because you've been taught to fear that kind of thing. That's why. That's the only reason. And I don't fear them. I'm not afraid of all. I go out there anytime, day or night, with any of them cats. I'll go in there with them, and I don't give it the second thought. So, but when you're thinking wild animals, you're thinking something that's some kind of a killer beast that if he, first opportunity that he got, he would tear you to shreds. Well, that bear, the very most that bear would do is walk up to you and give you a kiss if you stopped there to see him. That'd be the most he would do. He ain't got no sign of any aggression ever, ever. That sign was made by a person that's filled with fear. That's who made that sign. They're scared of what I'm doing here. That's why that sign is up there, because not because of me, but because of them. You know. In all my cages, I got to put danger, black leopard, danger, 2 tigers, danger, lion, danger, cougar, dangerous animal. And all the cages. Like that, what's that mean? That don't mean nothing. You don't need a sign to know that a tiger's in there. And you also don't need a sign to tell you not to go in there. I got a sign up there that says, don't feed your fingers to the animals, because I've had guys here, I've had growing men here like me get their little kids and get their little arm and feed it through the fence to pet the tiger's head. I've had them do it. I've seen them do it like that. I told the guy, I said, you know you shouldn't do that. That's why the perimeter fence is up, to stop that. That's a reason for the perimeter fence, is to keep people from doing that. That gives them a barrier where they can't get but this close to that fence. That's why it's there. It's a reason. And you got to do things like that, because if you don't, they're gonna continue doing that. You know, or little kids will be putting a stick in there, guiding them with a stick. I've got them doing that. And feeding them things. You don't want somebody to feed your animals with something out of their pocket, because sooner or later you're going to have a poisoned cat, because somebody's going to be giving them something that he shouldn't have. So you don't do that. So that's a reason for that. 2 fences. Plus, if a cat gets out the door, he still is not going to get away, because he's still inside the inner fence, and I still have time to get him back in where he goes without him getting totally loose. You know, so that's another reason for that. You know, but that's important. You got to have that. Well, there's a lot of people. In fact, most people that's got tigers and lions and leopards, they don't go into cages with them. I do. Everything you see surrounds them animals. You know, everything I do, my whole life, surrounds them animals. That's what I do. That's all I got. Don't forget, 2 boys have been killed. My wife just fell over dead. Animals I've had for years and years have died on me. You know, man, that's all got a big effect on me. But you just come in here and take my animals and then take them down here and put them to sleep, or put them in some rescue place that shouldn't have half of what they got. In other words, what I'm saying, it won't be to a better place. Why would you do that? I mean, how long do I have to do this to prove to you that the animals are secure, they're safe, they're well taken care of. Nobody's ever been loose, nobody's ever got a scratch, nothing ever. Why would you want to do that to me? For what reason? Other than you can. So, but the only recourse you got for that is people like you, my friends, and the media. That's how you let everybody know about what they're doing. It's what you do. Because it's not right. It's big time discrimination. And it's against the Constitution what they're doing. Plain and simple. And they throw a blanket over everybody because of one person, Terry Thompson.
2 weeks ago, Kenny Hetrick received a letter from a special prosecutor on behalf of the Ohio Department of Agriculture. It said he had 10 business days to either surrender his animals or face charges. Now those 10 days are up, and lions, tigers, and bears still roam his backyard.
I had a lot of sleepless nights, thinking about what may happen.
A state law enacted in 2012 requires Hetrick to hold a new permit for his animals. He initially said he couldn't afford the thousands of dollars in insurance and property modifications he'd need to acquire the license. Friends and strangers have now donated enough to pay for new fencing on his bear cage. He says that's making it easier for him to pay for the rest of the requirements.
We got the insurance, we got our permit fee paid, we got the microchipping and neutering done.
But a spokeswoman for the Ohio Department of Ag points out that the letter sent to Hetrick does not offer him 10 days to get in compliance with state law. It says he has 10 days to surrender his animals or he could face charges. The spokeswoman says the next steps are up to the prosecutor, who could not be reached for comment Thursday. According to the spokeswoman, the department made several attempts to contact Hetrick prior to the letter being sent, and referring the case to the prosecutor is a last resort. Hetrick says he didn't have any communication with state officials on Thursday, and he's optimistic going forward.
You really can't predict the future. You can think about it and guess what, but I think I'm going to be okay.
I asked Hetrick if he ever thought he'd make so much progress in just 2 weeks. He said no way, and he couldn't have done it without his friends.